Chapter 3, Question 4 says a person uses 750 calories on a long walk, and they're asking you to calculate that energy in two different units. The first is joules, and the second is kilojoules. So let's just clarify this. We'll write the number they give us, 750 kilocalories, and then the unit that they're asking for. So they're asking for joules in this first example. Okay, now this is ultimately a conversion problem, and in every conversion problem, you need a conversion factor that relates the two units. The one conversion factor you would definitely want to know relating kilocalories to something like joules is that 1 kilocalorie is equal to 4.184 kilojoules. So that conversion factor would let you get from kilocalories to kilojoules, but we don't want kilojoules, we want just regular joules. And so you would remember another conversion factor, how kilo of anything relates to that thing. So 1 kilojoule is equal to 1,000 joules, just like 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. And so here we have our two conversion factors that will let us get from kilocalories to kilojoules. So to do the conversion, you can take the number they give you. Every time you do a conversion, write a multiplication sign and a fraction bar. And the unit that you start with on top goes on the bottom of the fraction. So here that's kilocalories. Now, in our conversion factor, the one conversion factor that has kilocalories is this purple one. And so we'll put 1 kilocalorie on the bottom. Going over the fraction bar is like going across the equal sign, so on top we'll have 4.184 kilojoules. And you can see that because the kilocalories that you start with and the kilocalories on the bottom of the fraction are on opposite sides of a fraction, they would cancel out, and you'd be left with kilojoules. But we want regular joules, so we get to do another conversion. Every time you do a conversion, write a multiplication sign, fraction bar, and the units that you start with on top will go on the bottom of this new fraction so that it cancels out. Now we have kilojoules here on top, so that's the unit that we want to go on bottom, and we'll use our next conversion factor to do that. So the kilojoules will go on the bottom along with the number associated with it. And going over the fraction is like going across the equal sign, so on top you'd have 1,000 joules. The kilojoules will cancel because they're on opposite sides of the fraction bar, and we're left with joules. So we're left with joules, which is exactly what we wanted. Now, you would want to plug this into a calculator. The way you would do it is you would take the 750 and you multiply by the top, hit enter, and then divide by the bottom. So 750 times 4.184, enter. That should give you 3,138. Divided by 1, enter, times 1,000, enter, divided by 1, enter, and I am getting a pretty large number. It's 3,138,000 joules. So that would be the number of joules in 750 kilocalories. A kilocalorie is actually what's listed on nutrition facts. When they list calories in food, it's actually kilocalories. And so in 750 kilocalories, there are 3,138,000 joules. A joule is about the amount of energy it takes to lift a hamburger from the table to your mouth. So that's A. Now for B, it's really a similar thing. They give us the 750 kilocalories, and they're asking for, now instead of joules, they're asking for kilojoules. So actually, we can use that first conversion that we had before, where it said that 1 kilocalorie equals 4.184 kilojoules, and we mentioned that that was something that you would want to have memorized, that relationship between kilocalories and kilojoules. So we can take that relationship and take the number we start with. Every time you do a conversion, write a multiplication sign, fraction bar, and the units that you start with are going to be the same as go on the bottom. So here, kilocalories, that's the unit we start with, that's the unit that's going to go on the bottom. We'll take the number that goes with it in the conversion factor, so 1 kilocalorie will go on the bottom. Going over the fraction bar to the top is like going across the equal sign, so on top we'll have 4.184 kilojoules. The kilocalories will cancel because they're on opposite sides of the fraction, and we'll be left with exactly what we wanted, which was kilojoules. And so for this, you would take 750 times 4.184, enter, should give you 3,138, divided by 1, enter, and we're left with 3,138 kilojoules. And so that would be how you would convert the kilocalories to first joules and then to kilojoules.